Yo, people, welcome back to another week, another episode, and we got another guest for you, man. Hey, we're spoiling you, man. But yeah, shout out Max, man. Nice to have you on, man.
Yeah, cheers, man. It's good to be on. I've
Yeah,
I've seen this podcast a few times. Pretty good. Pretty good.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that for real, man. As you know, the usuals, like, comment, and subscribe, and share it with your friends. I think we're on like 42, 41 subscribers. Let's get to 50, maybe by the next 3 weeks. I would say by the end of the month, but let's like slow it down. But yeah, maybe by the next month, let's get to 50 subscribers. But anyway, let's get into the business. FA Cup this week. There's some Premier League games, but let's start off with the FA Cup and the big game. Senior man, he's on form, man. He's on form, man. Like yeah, natural. So Leicester won 3-1, through to the semi-finals. They could win something. Obviously for United, that's another trophy gone. More pressure on Oli. But what was our general thoughts on the games? Any new observations that we learned, and how important is this result going to be for the end of the season for what these clubs can achieve? I'll start with Ori.
Yeah, it was a really huge win for Leicester because I think they hadn't got into semi-final of the FA Cup for about 30 something years or so. So, after they won the league title, then it really just seemed like it was just a one season kind of thing that's a fluke, and they would probably even go back to fighting relegation or stuff like that. But I feel with the appointment of Rodgers and stuff, they've really made a lot of progress, improving that they can still be a top club and push for Champions League places and compete in the FA Cup and stuff like that. So yeah, really huge win. And now they play Southampton, so that should be a win for them. And they'll be looking to go to the finals, and if they could potentially win the cup, that would be something really huge for them. In terms of United, yeah, I don't think they really set out well, or they really set out well in the game. I just think like he didn't seem like a game where United were prepared for it. Obviously, he wanted to rest Bruno, which I understand, but Van de Beek, I really don't think he's really fully come into it. Obviously, he doesn't get enough of games, so maybe, he probably isn't on form per se. I don't really like him as a 10, really. I see him more as an 8. And I don't really see United playing in a system that suits him because he can do essentially what Bruno does. And I also can't see him playing the same role that probably Fred or McTominay plays in the team. Speaking on Fred, he was quite awful in that game. I'm surprised he got hooked quite late. I thought he was going to get hooked earlier. He didn't. Yeah, United, it's the fans want trophies, and it's not looking like they're going to win one. I mean, they could possibly win the Europa League, but yeah, I feel if they fail to win that, the fans would just be very, very wary of Oli and just not really back him as much as they did, or want him to continue there. But I guess we just have to see. And shout out before I end the shout out to obviously Iheanacho. Yeah, he's just been on some incredible form. He's really making a case to be our starter in the Nigerian team for the AFCON. Yeah, I think Leicester playing with 2 strikers now is just really good for him because he can enter the squad with Vardy. And I know Leicester are looking for strikers this summer, but Iheanacho is really making a case to make himself probably the main striker in the squad. So that will be good to see for him. But yeah.
Before I'm going to ask Denzel some United questions, but before I go to Denzel, United need to pattern the midfield, man. Is either because I don't like Pogba playing as a 6, but they really need a guy that can conduct that midfield and be the metronome, the guy that everything goes through. You get what I'm saying? Matic is 32. He's not that player no more. Fred and McTominay, they're not the greatest on the ball. So I know United, I think he might want to play this counter-attacking system. Maybe that's what he wants to do. But, I mean, more time you're going to be playing teams out for doing the low block or sometimes you just need to have that guy that's press resistant that can keep the ball. You know, the ones when you're getting pressurized. Because we saw with Fred, that was a perfect example. Fred wasn't comfortable on the ball. He gave the ball away. He doesn't do that all the time, but we've seen it over the last couple of games where he has been very sloppy on the ball. But I feel like that's a big position United needs a pattern is the midfield, especially maybe like a DM. I always keep saying Brozovic is a very good option that United should look at, but it depends. But Denzel, I'm going to ask you this question because me and Dan we saw a stream yesterday. How many goals would Haaland score in this United system?
You get 20 plus.
Why would you say that?
Because I think we've seen last season even you saw Martial and Rashford both get 20 plus. So I think Haaland could quite easily get 20 plus in that team.
But to digress for that and make it a bit more all-rounded, what was your thoughts on the defeat and how do you think this defeat kind of changes your perception for what you expect this season?
I didn't feel anything, which is bad, but I expected it to happen. I feel like Ole his big game record when it comes to like important games, it's not convincing at all. I wasn't surprised that we lost. Leicester completely outplayed us, to be honest. So there was nothing really to be angry about in terms of the result because of Leicester deserved to win. Ndidi was amazing. Iheanacho was amazing as well. Vardy, even he could have made it more. He had that one opportunity that he missed. Man United didn't really do anything the whole game apart from the goal. Van de Beek, I don't rate him at all. I think he's trash. I can't even lie. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't know why United fans they love protecting him, but he's trash. Like, there's no point in sugarcoating it. He doesn't fit into the system.
Is that fair though? Because man don't even get consistent game time. He's
Yeah,
playing
but
like
when he
once
plays-
every
when
3
he-
months.
Yeah, but when he plays, what does he do? Nothing.
No, but
Like-
players need to as much as we like to talk
Yeah,
about
but-
their ability, you need to be cohesive in the team, innit?
Yeah, I understand that, but like fans, I don't know why fans love twerking with him. Like, oh, Van de Beek did this game, or even the goal that we scored, someone was like, oh, Van de Beek made that goal. I was like, no, Pogba did. I feel like because
he
of
played a
people,
part in that. Let's not pretend.
yeah, obviously the dummy and all that, but Pogba did most of the work. I feel like because the people feel sorry for him, they have this thing where they go easy on his performances, but in reality, he's not getting into the starting lineup for a reason.
No, I think that's harsh.
What you think is harsh?
I think it's very harsh. He's not had any, like, you can't really expect him to be putting together like great
Obviously,
performances.
but
in one
whenever
game
he
every 7.
obviously I'm not but whenever he plays, he doesn't do anything.
Do
That's just the truth.
you feel like Ollie knows how to use him correctly? Like, I kind of feel like he's
That's
stuck in
another
two
thing.
minds.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. Ole doesn't know how to play with Van de Beek in the system, and like you were saying, Josh, our midfield is just a mess. Like the whole McFred thing, putting Pogba on the left, all of it. Like it's Ole. That midfield is a massive issue.
But the thing is, can anyone really play with Van de Beek if you think about the way a lot of teams in our league set up? Like Van de
Not a
Beek
traditional
is
10. Like,
he's not a 10. He's not like
he's an off the ball 10. Like he's not going to be involved in link up play. He's going to make those last ditch runs into the box. He's not going to be linking up.
Exactly, he's better at making runs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you played a 4-3-3, it could work, but you need an out and out DM for that, and you just don't have it.
Exactly. And that brings me to Fred. Oh, Fred. If I start with Fred, I'll be talking for ages. That guy, I can't lie, he needs to get out of the squad, the starting lineup. Like, I don't think. Yeah, not the whole squad as a whole. I feel like he would be better as a rotation player. He shouldn't be starting in that team. Realistically, he makes a lot of mistakes. Whenever he's a bit iffy on the ball, the only thing he's good at is like disrupting play. Apart from that, Fred doesn't really bring too much to the table. He makes mistakes all the time when we're playing. So I feel like Ole needs to figure out the whole midfield thing because of McFred and Pogba on the wing. You're playing arguably your best midfielder apart from Bruno Fernandes, and obviously people debate who's better between Pogba and Bruno, but I'm not going to get into that. But you're moving one of your best midfielders out of position to accommodate McFred. I just think it's so silly. Like he needs to get a proper CDM and find the centre midfielders that he needs to fit into the system that works.
Nah,
Yeah.
100. Question for everybody. I'm going to go around the table because me, Dan, and one of our housemates were discussing this. Would Oli get a job in a top 10 team in the Premier League? I just want a yes or no. So I'm going to start with Max. Yes or no?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sarah?
Yes, he would. Yeah.
Dan?
I think where does he get a job? Which club?
So you're saying no.
Nope.
And then Denzel?
Initially, I was gonna say no, but I think based on what he's done, from what he's shown at his little time at United, I think he's capable of managing a top 10 side.
I say yes as well. I think so.
I don't know, man. I think it's based on his reputation within the game. People would only give him that job based on the fact the player Oli. Like if you disregard his playing career and you give him a just based on his managerial career, ultimately he's done nothing. He's got Cardiff relegated and he's just kind of been a stopgap for Man United.
He's improved United.
But has he improved them massively though, or has it more?
He has improved us a lot.
He has
Well,
improved.
not massive, not massively.
not a lot.
You know what? He has improved them a lot. You know what? I feel like he's not getting enough credit for like had the
Mourinho
he
done
has
better
done
with Man
for
United.
United were quite awful under LVG and Mourinho.
United were better
Yeah.
under Mourinho than they were with Oli.
They definitely
No, we weren't.
They
No, we
definitely
weren't.
were.
They
They
If you look at
definitely
the
were.
achievements, United
How can you
achieved
say
more.
that?
They definitely were. No.
How can you say that?
United-
But now you're comparing playing styles to trophies.
Exactly.
Not
That's
even.
always the case. That's always the case.
Like,
People
what's more
throw
important,
things
playing
down.
style or trophies? Like,
Winning
And
stuff is
then-
more important. It doesn't matter how you
Come
play
on,
if you win.
man. No, we weren't better under Marino. That's silly to
You
say.
came
because
second. You
we
won
were
the
playing
Europa League and the Carabao Cup. Ollie's won
Well,
nothing.
They came
Well, I mean,
second,
okay.
20-something points off City.
Exactly.
And how far is
for
Ollie
one.
off City now?
He's just about.
It's the same. So you can.
15.
It's a similar thing.
Hey,
It's a
you man,
similar
wait
thing.
1 second. Max,
He's about
Max,
10.
do you have something to say? What's your thoughts?
I was just, as someone who hates Man United, I'm just loving this whole kind of them in a mess. I'm just loving seeing it. I do think, in terms of what was said, that he got Cardiff relegated. I think that's very harsh. Like if you remember Cardiff,
I think so.
he took over mid-season. They were kind of in a mess. Their recruitment that year wasn't great. I do think if you look at individual players at Man United, I think they have improved. Yeah, and even as a team as well, they haven't improved massively, but there's enough there that warrants him getting a job at another top 10 team. Top 6 probably not, but say like David Moyes at West Ham. I think he's a better manager than David Moyes.
Ollie better than David
He
Moyes.
is
Yeah.
because of look at what Moyes did at United. He has
I
to
don't
do
know
that.
about that.
Yes.
Moyes was given 6 months.
Come on, man. Moyes
Moyes was
like,
quite awful.
he inherited a title-winning squad, and he
If
still
you
finished.
look at the
seventh.
players that were in that
Come
squad.
on now.
Look at the players that were in that squad. Phil
Yeah.
Jones, Danny Welbeck, and Cleverley were
You're
starting.
saying, you're
Okay,
saying that
and-
now,
and
but at the
Ferguson
time
won the
we
league
didn't
with
think
that
we didn't think they were poor.
Because
Phil
Ferguson
Jones-
was
Exactly.
managing them though.
No, but at the time,
Exactly.
people were
Ferguson
saying
won the
Phil
league with
Jones
that
was the
team,
next
so-
John Terry at the time. So let's
Because-
not
But
pretend
Ferguson was
like.
managing them though.
No,
Ferguson is
but
the greatest manager in the history of the
But
Premier League.
bro, you're saying that with hindsight now that we're looking at Phil Jones and saying this guy he's a bum. But at the time we thought, hey, Phil Jones might actually be a good player.
But
Like,
what
I
I'm
never-
saying,
I
the
never
reason
rated
why
him
we
to
thought
top.
he was a good player is because he was playing under the best manager.
Yeah,
We've seen him under how
that's
many
with
different
hindsight,
managers?
though. That's with hindsight now that we've seen it. But at the time, because David Moyes was a direct replacement, so it wasn't like a thing where David Moyes came in 3 years later and we've had a bit of a sample size to see this guy isn't actually that good. He came
Exactly. So it's
straight
not harsh
after.
on Moyes. So you don't think it's harsh on Moyes the way he was treated?
No, I'm saying
No,
everything is in
It
hindsight
wasn't
because
harsh.
no. I think it's harsh if you look at it now
No,
because
no,
wait.
because he is
Let me tell you why it's harsh because look at Oli now. If Oli took over after Sir Alex, he would have been sacked ages ago. That's a fact. But the expectations of clubs have decreased because they realize that the quality of their players have decreased massively, so they have to give managers more time.
Exactly.
You see, if Arteta was Arsenal manager and Arsenal were 10th 7 years ago, even though they love top 4, 7 years ago, they would have sacked Arteta, but they realized the expectation and the reality of where they are isn't the same as what they were before. The quality of the top players of these great clubs has decreased, so the expectation has also decreased as well, which is why they're afforded more time.
Okay,
At the time, it was wrong. And at the time, it was right, but hindsight is wrong. But yeah, Ori, what are you going to say?
I want to say this. In terms of the whole trophy thing, that, when you think about Mourinho winning the Europa League and when you think about Van Gaal winning the FA Cup, okay, they won those trophies. Did it improve them? No. United did not become a better team because they won those trophies.
Van Gaal wasn't given a chance.
Sure about that?
Van Gaal was sacked.
I think he was. He
He wasn't.
I think he was given a good
He
chance.
won the FA Cup
Van Gaal
and was
given a
replaced
good
by
chance.
Mourinho.
He was given a good chance.
They made.
If you'd have kept Van Gaal, I guarantee you'd be in a better place than you are now.
Are you serious?
You know what? What is? Let's define this. Let's define this.
trash.
What is a better place? They're second in the league. Are you saying under Van Gaal, Mourinho now they will be first? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
No, I would just say
Exactly.
they definitely would have won. They definitely would have won more if they'd have kept Van Gaal than they have under Oli.
One more, but
100%.
United are not a team that's just supposed to be winning FA Cup and Europa League. United are supposed to challenge
United, but winning FA Cup and Europa League is better than winning nothing and claiming that we're progressing.
But we are progressing.
But they are progressing.
But what does progress mean if you're not going to win anything?
You know what I've clocked here? A lot of people use trophies to try and paper over cracks. Like the same thing happened with Arteta last season. Like everyone's gassing Arteta because he won the FA Cup. But has Arsenal progressed that much?
But people use progress people use progress and rebuild just to make an excuse for lowering expectations and failure. That's what it is.
Trophies
really.
are not a good measurement of progress, if we're being honest.
But I'm not mentioning progress. I'm not talking about progress at all. That's what I said.
Let me not say trophies, but some certain
certain
trophies are not
yeah.
good. Some certain trophies are not a good measurement of progress.
Let's be honest.
But I'm not talking about progress at all.
Let's be honest. When we're looking at clubs, it's just a lazy argument or how much have they won and stuff like that. If we want to actually be objective and honest, we have to look in things in context and deep details. That's the reality to see if a club is in progress or not. You can't just obviously trophies are the major marker in terms of how well a team is doing. But if you're trying to get a total view of how well they're doing, you have to look at it in deeper context. And I mean, there is going to be some subjective views about who's playing better football because obviously it depends on the person, innit? But it's a thing of you have to look at things in greater detail. It's not fair to just say he's won this, he's won that. Even though it is the biggest thing, if you want to be truthful, you have to go into greater context and greater detail of what you're looking for to quantify what is progress. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, because progress at this point, people are just saying, we're making progress to cover over the cracks of underperforming. Like, ask any Arsenal fan right now, why has Arteta got a job? And they'll say, he's progressed. But the reality is, they've just lowered expectations.
But United have definitely progressed more than a club like Arsenal have. United have definitely progressed. Like, you can't say there's no progress in United.
But
like,
where's the progress though? What's the progress given them?
What?
What have they got as a result of this progress? They've got nothing. They're still not going to win the title.
I mean, you don't know.
I get what Dan's trying to say. He's trying to say, how can you quantify this success? Like what?
Because
if you look back, proof of this
if
success?
you look back in 10 years' time, if you look back in 10 years' time and you look back and say, okay, they've won this. No one's going to look back and say, they got top 4. Do you know what? They got better the next season. That doesn't mean anything if you don't win nothing.
I do hear that. I do hear
when people look back at Mourinho's time, Mourinho won 2 trophies.
Yeah,
he won 2 trophies. But when people look back at Mourinho's side, they're not going to see anything special in what United became or what United did. He finished second. He won 2 trophies, but there was no real progress. That's why he was sacked.
Wait, because we're gonna eventually have to move on. Sarah, do you want to say something?
No, not really. I was just going to shine some light on Yuri Tielemans, but I mean...
Yeah, let's get back to Leicester. Let's just talk about Leicester, yeah. What are you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch the game, but I mean, I'm looking at Tielemans' progress. He's becoming an all-action midfielder. Potentially someone United could go for as another midfield option. Rogers is doing well considering the big injury issues he's had, a lot of injury issues, and some of those young kids coming in, they've done well. I mean, there's not too much to say. I think also now they're probably going to stay in the top 4. They've got a bit of a gap to everyone else. So a top 4 finish and a final potentially, on paper they should beat Southampton, but who knows, is a very, very good season for Leicester. And let's see what happens in the summer with these guys, because we know how good their transfer strategy is and the types of players they're going for. Potentially, other clubs should be going in as well.
Yeah. So Max, what was your thoughts on the game and any new things that you learned?
I mean, they're doing very well with the injuries they have. I mean, Maddison, Barnes, arguably their two best attacking players. So to keep winning games with them out is really impressive. I think Jamie Vardy is a really interesting player to look at now because he's been out of form for quite a while. There's a lot of talk, obviously, about Leicester getting a striker this summer. That I'm definitely on the side that they do need to get one, regardless of Iheanacho's form, whether this is just a purple patch or whether he can string it together consistently. I don't think you can. I don't know what everyone else would think, but I don't know if you rely on Kelechi next season, like without a backup almost. I thought the suggestion of Tielemans to Man United it's an interesting shout, just because I've never really thought about it, and I wouldn't have said he's the proper like defensive midfielder you need, because obviously he's a centre midfielder. But in terms of when Tielemans came to the Premier League, he was he's a lightweight player. Do you know what I mean? He's not putting himself about. But this season, I think he's something like he's top 5 in recoveries in the Premier League now. He's really, really up that side of his game. And I just think, it's an interesting shout to Man United.
I think
it cost a lot though.
When he first came, people were like, "Oh, why didn't top clubs go in for him from Monaco?" Because he had about 3 good years. He made his debut really early, and everyone was saying, "Oh, why isn't he at a top club already?" He didn't start off very well at all. Like, he was pretty hapless at everything, to be honest. Like, he gave the ball away a lot. He couldn't retain it, and I think he wasn't even in the starting 11 at times as well. But I think United definitely need to go for a defensive midfielder, a proper defensive midfielder, not just one that can pass, one that can retain the ball, like everything.
But who's that option though? I think Brozovic is a good option.
Brozovic is a good option.
Ndidi.
But Ndidi's ball, like, his passing is
I feel like
at times.
Ndidi is what Man United need, personally.
And he's going to cost.
Max, I know Max is an expert in terms of like scouting players from all over. Tell us, who do you think is a good option?
I mean, we were talking earlier about press resistance. And Ndidi actually, I think, is kind of almost underrated in that area of his game now. If they could get Ndidi out of Leicester, I do think it'd be a brilliant signing. Declan Rice is obviously the English one people go for.
Yeah.
I think Locatelli from Sassuolo is cold. Is immense, and he's getting better defensively all the time as well. I'd say Youssouf Fofana from Monaco as well, and even Tchouameni's a bit more of a box-to-box midfielder, but Fofana plays the deepest. He's brilliant on the ball. His passing range is exceptional. He works pretty hard as well. He'd be the kind of cheaper option, but if you want to have DM, you got big budget, and Ndidi's up there.
Would you recommend, what's that Marseille brother, Kamara?
I was going to talk about him later. Kamara, obviously, was a centre back. Kind of Villas-Boas converted him into a defensive midfielder at the start of last season. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. He's maybe not in terms of on the ball what they need, but winning the ball back from the opposition and even ball retention. Like, he's not. When I'm saying he's not great on the ball, in terms of like picking out like forward passes, but in terms of like knocking it back, if you put him in the midfield with Pogba and maybe Pogba and Bruno Fernandes, I think that would work very well.
Mm-hmm. And Dan, what was your thoughts on the game? Anything that you learned?
I mean, I feel like with the game as a whole, people scapegoated Fred a little bit. Understandably, he was very poor, but he's not the sole reason why United lost that game. Like, there was I think the best way to describe Man United was just lackluster. Like, apart from the goal, I didn't really see much from them, and it was quite disappointing. And Leicester have a lot of injuries, so that it's not like they were playing their full strength team and they were playing to their highest ability. Like, this is a Leicester team that lost to Arsenal's B team at the King Power a couple of weeks ago, lost to Slavia Prague. Like, United should have really gone for this game. And I think Ollie's team selection and substitutes was really confusing. Like, I don't understand why he decided to play essentially the B team in this game, whilst in the game against Sociedad, the second leg, he put out Rashford and Fernandez. And not even just the team selection, the substitutes as well. Like Fred was left on far longer than he should have been. Like he probably should have been hooked at half time because it just wasn't going his way. It wasn't his day. Nothing was going right for him. So they should have just taken him off and tried to change it up. But it's not a good result for United at all because like if United win that game against Leicester, they get Southampton in the semi-final in a game where they've already beaten Southampton 9-0 this year. So you'd be very confident of them winning that. And that's a final. And the final they have, the other semi-finals are the Chelsea or Man City. And obviously we don't know who's going through between Chelsea or Man City, but United could be confident going into a final against either one of them teams. So to have lost this game, it's not good at all for United. Like, I think now the only real thing that they have to play for is the Europa League, because I'm confident that they've got the top four already. Obviously, they were out the Carling Cup earlier and the FA Cup now. So if this is another season for United without a trophy and finishing top four, I think the fans will get more frustrated with Oli, especially if he loses in the semi-final of the Europa League, or even worse, if he loses the final against Arsenal. There would definitely be a lot of fan pressure under Oli. So it's a very poor result for United. But for Leicester, it's a very, very good result because they got Southampton, who obviously they beat 9-0 last season. And this is a big chance for them to get to a final and get some silverware, because Leicester have got better in recent years and it's looking like they're going to get top four. But if they could get their hands on some silverware, it would be massive for them.
I hear that, man. But yeah, let's move on to the total, like the rest of the World Cup, FA Cup games. Chelsea beat Sheffield 2-0. So that's a good result for them, obviously. Man City beat Everton 2-0 as well. Man City, Chelsea, semi-final. Southampton, Leicester on the other hand. So I'm going to go around. I want to see what's our final predictions and who will win the FA Cup. So Denzel, who's your finals prediction and who you saying is going to win?
I'm going to go with Man City. I'm going to say Man City Leicester final. And I think Man City will win it.
Mm-hmm. I fancy our chances against Man City, but obviously we got to be careful, innit? Man City are obviously the favourites, no matter what, obviously. But I can't trust us going forward, though. That's the thing. I don't trust us going forward. I don't think under Tuchel we've been very great going forward. It don't look like we don't create that many chances anyway, and we don't have a clinical striker. So for that reason, I'll probably edge Man City. Man City, I think we should be careful of Southampton, because that 9-0 is going to be on their minds, innit? And they're going to want revenge. But I still say, you know what? I don't know if I trust Leicester like that to get the job done. I don't know if I trust them like that, but they'll still be favourites. I'll still put them. So let's say Man City, Leicester, and then Leicester to win the FA Cup. I'm playing. Man City favourites. Man City. Dan?
Man City, Leicester. Probably Man City to win it, but don't count out Chelsea though.
Yeah. Max?
Yeah, I would say you've got to back City to win it, to be fair. I could, as you said, I could see Southampton upsetting Leicester though.
I see it as well, man. Ore?
Yeah, I'll go for it. The same Leicester City final and City to win it. I think the only team who I could really see stopping City was United, but they didn't beat Leicester. So the only team I could really see. In terms of Chelsea, I do think it's possible, but like you said, attacking wise, it would just be kind of hard for you, especially with City's good defense. And Everton were very good defensively against City, but eventually the goals will always come, and you can't just see City not scoring. They're just a very prolific side. So yeah.
Sarah?
Yeah, City to win it. I mean, I blow hot and cold with Leicester because I'm like that they should be a lot better than they are, or they're not. Like, but yeah, Southampton they've got a chance definitely. Especially when's the ties being played? Is it end of April?
Let me check.
So by that point, you'd think that Leicester would be in that comfortably, definitely be in that top four. But yeah, I mean, I wanted Chelsea City to be the final, to be honest. That would have been the repeat of the Kepa situation from 2 years ago.
Saying 17th of April, so probably 17th, 18th of April, because it's not going to be played on the same day. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good to see Tuchel's and Pep's tactics. It's going to be really interesting to see how Tuchel lines up and how he goes forward as well. Because I honestly don't see him sticking with five at the back, particularly with next season. But yeah, City to win it.
And also, just to move on, do you think City have a chance of the quadruple, like honestly, or do you think it's all gas? That's just an open question. Anybody can take that.
God forbid. God forbid.
They have the best opportunity and the best chance, but they won't do it. I don't think they'll do it because
what did they not? What did they not win though? That's my. I don't want it to happen, but I'm thinking about it like.
I'm thinking semi-finals in the Champions League. Something will happen.
It's a lot of games to play though. They've got they're in 3 competitions still, so they.
But they have a lot of
They have the best squad as well.
Yeah, exactly. They have the squad to be able to rotate.
But we don't know about injuries either, though. They could get if they get a couple injuries, they might be looking worse for wear with the rotation.
They were playing better without their injuries.
I think the only player in the squad who could probably affect them with an injury is probably maybe Edison and probably Diaz. I don't think anyone else is crucial enough to miss.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like with that season, it's not like there's one key man that's gonna.
That's the point. A lot of players can come in and do a different job or the same job.
Mm-hmm. Well, Max, do you think they'll do the quadruple, or they have a chance?
I think you'd say in terms of likelihood, they will probably lose one game at some point. So I'd say if I had to choose, I'd say probably not. But it's the door's open. It's definitely. It's not just gas, you know what I mean? They could easily do it.
It's the best chance for any side to ever do it because of the situation we're in.
Yeah.
I do hear that. Do you think people will use that as an asterisk, like in 50 years time?
100%.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be though.
Yeah, but no, people will bring up the argument that you won the league. People bring up the argument you won the league where there were no fans, and when you go to an away ground, normally you have the tension from the away fans and all that. People will try and use little things like that to go to discredit them winning the quadruple.
But you could also say this was the first season ever where you literally played every 3 days and you only had 1 week off for 6 months. And it was so condensed, unlike any other season. So
it's true. And there was Corona as well. It was Corona as well. Sometimes you wouldn't even be able to fill your bench. The running stats, I think this season are going to be considerably lower across most teams. So
and the fan thing actually does work both ways because there were times when they were down and they would need fans to also push them to, but they did that without fans as well. So yeah, it's not really a big deal.
Let's move on to the Premier League now. Let's focus on West Ham versus Arsenal, where West Ham, let's be frank, they bottled it 3-0 up to 3-3. What's our thoughts on their chances of top four? Instead of just looking at Arsenal, because we've looked at Arsenal a lot. Let's look at West Ham. What does this result show in terms of their top four credentials? So I'll start with Sarah with that.
Yeah, I'll make it explicitly clear. I did not watch the game. I only watched for 15 minutes of it, but it was a calamity. With regards to top four, I personally, if I had the choice, I would not want to finish in top four because I know what will happen. We will get maybe a 6th place or a 4th place or whatever it is, and then next season we'll go back down again. I just want a level of consistency, 7th, 6th, 5th, whatever. If we can do it with regards to that, don't think we can do it because we're starting to pick up injuries now. And I said this at the beginning of the season. We've been lucky with injuries up until the last month when Antonio started picking them up. Angelo Bonner's been out. And we just don't have that. I don't back Moyes to keep changing, making little tweaks here and there with the way we play, the way we press, and the matchups and stuff. I just don't see it happening. It obviously, I would love to do it. Imagine next season going to the London Stadium and watching them there. With regards to the game, I mean, it's very easy for me to probably point out the referees and John Moss and stuff like that, but let's have it. I think apart from the first half an hour where we were very good, Arsenal had most of the possession after that. They controlled it from what I've seen. And yeah, we had chances maybe to score the fourth and the fifth goal, but it wasn't good. We basically got Tottenhamed. What we did to Tottenham was what they did to us. And you know, I can accept the fact that us dropping points against the top six, because generally the season we've not been very good, and I'd rather it be like that, because most of your points are won with the other 12 opponents, or whatever it is, 13 opponents. And the players look tired at points. I think Souček and Rice, they can't keep playing every minute. Cresswell can't keep playing every minute. How the hell is Cresswell playing every minute? That's ridiculous. England claims are ridiculous as well. He's not good enough to play for England, in my opinion. The assists, and this is the thing we need to shift, this culture of understand what the player's job is in that role and in that system. It's not for him to defend at his resolute best. It's for him to provide for other players. Yeah, I'm content. I'm very pleased with the way we've been playing and the season we've had so far. But you know, I could see us falling off a little bit because of our squad. It's horrendous.
Yeah. Dan, what was your thoughts on the game and just West Ham's top four or European credentials?
I think it's a game that neither team can really be happy with, because obviously Arsenal wouldn't have wanted a draw going into the game, and West Ham were 3-0 up, so a draw is not something that they would have taken really. So, like, I think the West Ham will be very annoyed because they had a couple of very big chances to win, especially Antonio. I think Antonio missed 2 massive chances, and that would have really sealed the deal at 4 goals that Arsenal wouldn't have come back. I do agree that the refereeing was very suspect. Like every soft 50-50 went Arsenal's way, which is a change and a good change.
It was the 2 most unluckiest teams up against each other, in my opinion.
Yeah, in terms of refereeing decisions, 100%.
Yeah.
In terms of West Ham's European ambitions, I don't think they can get Champions League, but I think they definitely can get Europa League. Like West Ham only have 1 game against a Big Six opponent left, and I think it's Chelsea. The rest of the games aren't that bad. Like I think they have Newcastle, Fulham, a lot of the bottom half teams. So if they can just pick up them results, then a finish 5th, 6th, 7th is definitely on the cards. Definitely on the cards. And I think that would be good for West Ham, because obviously the money that European football brings in, they can reinvest in the squad. And I think they should probably look at either loaning Lingard back again or making it permanent, because I think West Ham is, not being disrespectful, I think that's Lingard's level. Like I think the pressure at Man United is a bit too much, and he's not really capable of playing to that level week in, week out. But somewhere at West Ham where he gets the ball quite a lot, he has a lot more freedom, he's less pressure on him. I think he's done really well. And the goal he scored against Arsenal, absolute banger, I have to say.
Ori, what was your thoughts on the game and just West Ham in general?
I think if we wanted an actual chance at top 6, that was a game we needed to win. Because we would have closed the gap on West Ham as well, to think about 4 points or something. So it was quite a huge loss in terms of context of our season. Yeah, I don't really expect us to eventually finish in the European places, although our fixtures are good, but in there we have some teams who are fighting relegation battles, and I feel there's a problem with the mentality of our squad. So, you know, I do see some teams in the relegations doing a job over us, possibly. I mean, because, you know, when teams do fight relegation battles, they do get more. So I don't really trust our fixtures to the end of the season. We play Liverpool next. You know, I don't really see us. There are only a few games left that I see us confident. Like I'm confident we could win, probably Sheffield, games like that. But, you know, you can never really tell Arsenal. So I think our main focus will be just to win the Europa League. In terms of tactics wise, I don't know why Aubameyang started on the right. I feel like it's better on the left, and he's just not really been on form this season. It's just something that I just really can't explain. But he's just not here going. Lacazette was quite good. Odegaard is probably my best player. He really played in between the lines, and he was really controlling the tempo and pace and going forward and stuff like that. In terms of West Ham, yeah, I think they just completely bottled it. There's always a problem when you take a really early lead in a game like that, and because the mentality thing, you just kind of feel like you're just going to bottle it eventually. So I feel that's what just happened to them. They really sat deep and they just let us have the ball. And in games like that, eventually, if you do that, you can't really stop them from scoring if you just let your opponent have the ball. I always say when you take an early lead or a big lead like that, the best thing to do is just continue playing how you were playing. If you start to change your tactics and try and sit deep, as it just wouldn't work. The team will always just eventually get the goals. In terms of their chances for top four, yeah, I don't think they're making top four, but I do think they could get a Europa place, which would be very good. Although you also have to think about the stress of playing in the Europa League and how it would affect their league form, especially like Sarab said, with their squad. They don't have a very good squad, let alone squad depth. So playing in the Europa League would be something they want, but also something they may not want if you think about it in context, because it could also affect how they play in the league and push them lower next season. So I'm guessing they'll just be keeping their options open, try and take every game one step at a time, and try and finish as high as they possibly can. Yeah.
I hear that, man. Max, what was your thoughts on the game and just like West Ham's European credentials in whole?
I mean, so first of all, West Ham. I've been talking all year and saying West Ham will drop off eventually. I think when you're that reliant on set pieces,
absolutely,
it just isn't sustainable, and they kept proving me wrong all year. But I do think they're kind of not collapse at this point, but this kind of drop off was inevitable. I don't think they'll get Champions League football, but Europa League is definitely doable. Like I think are they 5 points clear of Liverpool still, or something like that?
5 points.
So yeah, I think they probably will finish around that 5th, 6th mark, which brilliant season. Like if you'd have offered that to West Ham fans start the season, I don't think there's anyone that wouldn't have taken that. I'd say the main thing I actually took from that game was Martin Odegaard, though. I think the second goal in particular, where he kind of has the ball in the kind of half space in between the defence and midfield, and he plays the reverse pass to who did he play it to on the right hand side?
Chambers.
He played to who?
Chambers.
Yeah. Cheers. He fooled that whole defence, and obviously he's always going to be compared to Mesut Ozil in that's who he's kind of directly replacing. But that wasn't, and they are slightly different players. But that was an Ozil-esque pass. It completely cut open the defence, and it was beautiful. And I think they really need to do as much as they possibly can to retain Odegaard. It might be, I'm not sure how much he would cost. It would depend on how much Real Madrid are willing to put up a fight, and actually how much Real Madrid go after Haaland and Mbappe as well. But if they don't get Odegaard, they have to replace that Ozil type player. And Odegaard obviously would be a brilliant way to do that.
100. Denzel, what was your thoughts on the game, and what are you saying for West Ham's European credentials?
I think West Ham will be disappointed with that result. Obviously, Arsenal should be as well. I'd say more based on the game, more disappointed would be towards West Ham, because of you had a 3-goal lead and you blew it. But another thing I want to outline is like Dan said earlier, the refereeing as well. The refereeing was very, very suspect. For the first, I think it was the first or the second West Ham goal. I don't think the free kick was taken from the right place. Yeah, that was an incorrect decision from the ref. And then there was a point in the game where West Ham were 3 on goal. the ref should have played the advantage, and he blew the whistle and pulled it back. So that decision as well. And then there was a couple other decisions, and the refereeing was just abysmal. Like, and I think Ori mentioned something in the GC like about the ref overcompensating for like the mistakes he made in the first half. Like, if a decision is a decision, you shouldn't be letting external factors affect the decision. You should just be making the correct decision at that moment, not based on the mistake that you made before. So I feel like officiating in the Prem is it's just very suspect at the moment. Arsenal did well to get back into the game. I have to respect that. I can't lie. And in terms of West Ham season, I think they should be happy where they are. And if you looked at the beginning of the season, they wanted to stay up. They've done a lot more than that. They're battling for a top 4 finish. So I think they should be happy with what's going on right now. A drop off, I think, like everyone's saying, is inevitable, but it's been a good season for West Ham overall.
Now, next season is actually going to be so interesting, though. Yeah, what were you saying?
I'll make one thing clear. I'm happy with the season. Like, you could have said it to me like at the beginning. Like, I'm perfectly happy with like the progression, the way we're playing. I thought at the beginning we're gonna play 5 at the back every single game. Masuaku's the only player getting out of the halfway line. Like, it was horrendous at the beginning when we lost to Arsenal and Newcastle. But yeah, I'm very happy with the way we've gone about our business. Mm-hmm. But the summer he needs to be backed. If he's not backed by that silly GSB chums, they, you won't need the last of me. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, but next season, I'm telling you, because we're gonna see like the pre and post Corona, see how how big of an impact all this is, So another team that they might not even be in the Premier League next season to look at is Newcastle. I think I was telling Max before. I think Steve Bruce is the worst manager in the league. He's a championship, mid-table championship side level. He's a shocking manager, in all honesty. If they get relegated, it's going to be big, mostly on him, in my opinion, because they're terrible. And it showed you when they got an assistant coach how much they gassed this guy, like as if he was the new manager. Graham Jones was gassed as if they got a new manager. That shows how bad they are. And when people say about just vibes and stuff like that, last season it was literally, I remember Dubravka was saving them bare shots, and it was St. Maximan's creativity. Obviously, this season they brought in Callum Wilson, and he's actually back, but he's injured now. And St. Maximan, Almiron's injured. Fraser hasn't been really put inside the side, but they're just in a terrible state. Would you guys say they're the favourites to go down? And what needs to change for Newcastle in order to almost fulfill their potential? Because they should be a lot higher up. They should be like what Everton are, really. But obviously, I know Mike Ashley's a big factor. But yeah, Sarah, what's your thoughts on the whole Newcastle debacle right now?
It's interesting because Newcastle fans would say they don't even want to watch football anymore because they've seen their team finish 5th a couple of years ago and were one of the established Premier League sides to go to playing, genuinely speaking, the worst football in the Premier League. There is no build-up play. There is no transitional play, nothing whatsoever. The reliance on Callum Wilson, Almiron, and even Alan St. Maximan is unbelievable. And they get this coach in to play 4-3-3. So Steve Bruce needs a manager to get them to play 4-3-3 with the players they've got. They've got good players to be playing that system. But on the other hand, I feel like people also overrate certain players in that team because there is a reliance on Alan St. Maximan to ball progress and take players on. Because last season I felt like, he'd go past loads of players, but his end product was terrible. It was almost Adama Traore-esque. But I think they are, in my opinion, the favourites to go down ahead of Fulham. I just see Fulham as being a much more coherent, competent side. Regardless of Fulham's couple past results have been a bit unlike them because their previous 15 games have been very solid, I think. And I look at Fulham and I think these guys, they play well. They defend well. They progress the ball well. They've got a couple of nifty attackers. So it'd be good to see them in the Premier League for another season. But for Newcastle, footballing-wise, they should not be in the Premier League. But history-wise and Steve Bruce, man, it's just not good enough. I think he accepts the fact as well. He says in his interviews that we're not going to be playing this sort of football where we know we've got our best players out, but you need to adapt. You've got a decent enough team to put on a competent press. Sometimes they just sit off for half the game and don't even make an effort. And some of his decision making as well, I think like he still hasn't found the best position for Almiron. Sometimes he plays him in like a 10 position on the wing in a front two. He's got like 6-foot giants on the bench like Andy Carroll and Dwight Gale, and it's just it's a mix of lots of different things. But yeah, they deserve to go down.
Yeah. No, you said something. You said you think St. Maximin's slightly overrated, isn't it?
He is because
I disagree.
Huh? Really?
I agree 100%. I agree 100%.
I don't think he's overrated, man.
Really?
Nah,
I think he is.
He's fed the ball
overrated.
all the time.
Hmm?
He's fed the ball.
They give him the
all
ball for every single bit.
No, but that's the
possession they
thing.
have.
He last season especially, because that's what I'm talking about. This season he's been out with COVID a lot, but last season he was literally the central attacking player, so he has to take so much of the burden upon him. And it's like what the thing with Bruno as well. Bruno's a high risk, high reward player. I'm not saying St. Maximin isn't that sort of player, but he has to have a lot of the ball because everything has to go through him because there's no one else capable of doing anything. So he's shouldering the attacking burden.
You don't think Ryan Fraser's not capable?
I didn't say this season though, because he's been out a lot this season.
My bad.
But I was talking more last season. Like last season, he was literally their attack. They didn't have a competent goal scorer as well. So
his output, I know his progression is good and everything else apart from his goals and assists are good, but his output is not very good at all. It's
in the final third, he's quite shocking, honestly.
He's shocking. I disagree, man.
And you need someone, if you're in a relegation battle, you need someone just to pop up with 10 goals, 5 assists. You need that. But
that should be on the striker. That shouldn't be on St. Maximin.
It is. Callum Wilson's doing it.
Yeah, no, this season, happened. Yeah, this season he has been. This season, obviously, they bought Callum Wilson. He's a good Premier League striker. But obviously, St. Maximin has been out with COVID for a very long time. It's only recently he's been come back. And now he's injured again anyway. So that's why I didn't include this season. But, Max, what's your thoughts on Newcastle's situation right now?
I'm not going to completely defend Steve Bruce because, like you say, maybe he's not the worst manager in the league now because you've got Paul Heckingbottom at Sheffield United, but behind, apart from him, but there are real structural problems at Newcastle, and realistically, I don't think Bruce is backed in the way that you need to keep that team up in the Premier League, which kind of links onto kind of what I was about to say is I don't know if any of you've seen the kind of like almost like conspiracy theory that's kind of been going around on like Twitter that Newcastle are deliberately getting relegated, in that Mike Ashley, in order to sell the club to the Saudi people, if the championship like ownership checks are much less stringent than in the Premier League. So they reckon he may be able to sell to the Saudis if they go down, and that in the short term, in the long term, it's better for him. I don't personally buy it, but I thought I'd throw it out there, see if anyone thinks there might be any truth.
I don't know about that one.
I wouldn't put it
Mike,
past
actually,
him.
you never know.
He wants to sell badly.
Yeah.
The thing is this: do you think he would essentially throw away maybe like 100 million, 200 million in club valuation in order to get the sale in the summer? Because what is the argument for keeping Steve Bruce otherwise? Because it's pretty clear. Even if he's not taking them down, he's not progressing with them. So unless it's literally a financial situation in terms of terminating his contract, and Mike Ashley doesn't want to do that, then I don't see how you can argue to keep him.
I hear that. He's a terrible manager. I don't know. Man. Nah, Newcastle, I don't know for them. Denz, what's your thoughts on the whole Newcastle thing?
I think they're just trash. That's it. I don't really think we have to overanalyze. They're just whack. Like the level at which they were with Benitez and the level where they're at with Bruce, like the decline is so sad to see. It's so sad to see. And obviously, like you just said, like them sticking with Steve Bruce it shows that the club has no ambition. And Mike Ashley, he just wants to sell the club off. So I don't have too much to say about Newcastle.
Yeah.
Just quickly, just quickly, like it shows the level of disparity and the common narrative that they had. Rafa Benitez, who was pulling ducks out of water at one point. Like he was, you know, they were struggling, and it shows Mike Ashley's clear lack of ideas for the club. But
That's like, you know, when Chelsea went from Courtois to Kepa. It's that sort of downgrade, man. It's like it's not even a level below. It's about 50 levels below. Nah, man. But Ori, yeah, what's your thoughts on the Newcastle thing?
Yeah, just proper shocking football. There's only like, do I want to say one or two teams in the league that really play with a low block and it pays off for them. Probably Burnley, and you know what, I'll just say it's probably just Burnley. It's probably only Burnley who have consistently played the same way they do, and they've not improved, but they've also not like going relegated for the past few seasons. They've been in the Premier League for quite some time now. So Newcastle, I don't know why they try and play defensive football. Like worst case scenario, if you're in a relegation battle, like worst case scenario, just go out and attack. Even if you just, even if you concede a few goals, you have better chances at the end of the day than just sitting back, soaking up all the pressure and trying and play on the counter and stuff like that. Only Burnley do it successfully, and I have to give credit to Sean Dyche for that, because it is not an easy job. I know a lot of people say it's anti-football and stuff like that, but I don't believe in anti-football. I just think football is football. There are different ways to play. But obviously it's not working for Newcastle. I just don't. Against Brighton, they were quite awful. Brighton are good. They did play proper football against them, but Newcastle and Brighton are around the same position points. That's the type of team that you should be trying to go and get something from, but they didn't. They're not going to be any big team to the end of the season if they have any fixtures. I think they do have against Arsenal, and I'm not really sure if they do, but I don't see them winning any of those games. I do think they will get relegated. I see Fulham probably finishing above them because they actually play good football.
not just about good football though. It's about actually playing sustainable football.
Yeah,
Newcastle's football is far from that, and Fulham have even Brighton. They have a sustainable system to create enough chances.
To create enough chances, exactly. And at the end of the day, like if you do create enough chances, you do know one of those games, you would just get lucky. Like Brighton.
Yeah, you will. You'll pick up a couple of results.
They had 3 goals, but Newcastle, they just go into every game the same way, the same negative style, the same, no. And I think they played Almiron as a striker, so I'm guessing he was playing kind of like a false 9, but it just wasn't working. Wilson is out. Jolton, I think he's quite awful as a player. Fraser tried to make a few things happen, but in general, their squad is just not good enough. Their manager is not good enough, and they are relegation favorites for me.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to another side now, the side that everybody loves. Well, some people do. Leeds. We got our Leeds fan here. Come in to tell us a bit about Leeds. But before we go into like your overall thoughts on Bielsa, I want to just gather your thoughts, Max, on how the season has been on a whole, the good things, the bad things, and what was the general expectation going in, and what's the expectation now?
So the expectation and kind of our aims, I'd say, were 2 slightly different things this season, because there was this kind of quiet confidence that we were that good that we'd be able to adapt to the Premier League and that we would be kind of slightly above a relegation battle. But our target for the year was stay up. Like we cannot go down. And I think that Fulham game at the weekend, we're safe. We could lose every game for the rest of this season now, and we're good. Our kind of strengths and weaknesses this season, there's obviously this narrative that we're really poor defensively. It is true in that we concede a lot of goals, but they are all specifically from set pieces. I don't know what the record actually is for like most corners conceded in season, but we're going for it. I'm telling you. Every single time we concede a corner, it's literally like we're about to concede. But in general play, we're not that bad at the back. Obviously, going forward, we play very, very nice, like high tempo football. Brilliant on the counter. We can break down teams with low blocks. Yeah, it's a great season. Honestly, is what I'd say. Yeah.
What are you rating out of 10? Would you say?
When you consider the injuries we've had as well, I think we're something like only behind Palace and maybe Leicester for like days missed cumulatively for players, like injury wise. Like we've had almost all of our centre backs been out this year. So I think when you bear that in mind, first season in the Prem, I'd say you've got to give it maybe 8.5 out of 10. I think that's I think that's fair.
Now, I want to get into the whole Bielsa, like what Bielsa coming to Leeds and, the players that he inherited at first and now where you are now. I just want to like gather your thoughts. Like, what was your feeling like when Bielsa first stepped through the door, and how did that like go through the club fans? Like, what was the reactions of the fans like when the Bielsa comes through?
So I think just to kind of give context to this, before Bielsa, we had Paul Heckingbottom, the now Sheffield United manager. I think we were 15th in the Championship the year before.
Wait, so is he actually a poor manager?
Oh, Paul Heckingbottom is a disgusting manager.
It's in the name, mate. It's in the name.
We got him from Barnsley mid-season. I don't know how many games he won, but he was sacked after 4 months. And then he went Hibs in Scotland and got sacked. And then now he took over Sheffield United's under-23 team, and now he's kind of fallen into the job. And then first game he gets battered 5-0. So it's kind of like that tells you all you need to know. But yeah, we were essentially a below-average Championship team. And then a kind of common, so then we sacked Paul Heckingbottom, and rumours about our manager comes in. I remember my dad talking to me, he said, we're linked with Marcelo Bielsa, and he wasn't really completely aware of who he was. And I was saying, Dad, we're not we're not getting Marcelo Bielsa, we're lower table Championship. And 2 days later, it's announced. I was like, what has happened here? How is this? And then obviously the transfer window, a kind of common misconception is that we kind of did spend a bit of money and he was back. Like we have had in all of our transfer windows in the Championship, or 4 with January, but we were not. Bielsa was not back at all. So for even like the 19-20 transfer window, we didn't spend a penny. We only bought loan players. We sold our top goal scorer Kim Ar-Rook, sold our best centre back Pontus Jansson. Jack Clark went to Spurs. But yeah, anyway, back to 2 seasons ago. 18-19. Game 1, we played Stoke, who'd just come down and were promotion favourites, and we blew them off the pitch. And it was straight away. And then next week we went away to Frank Lampard's Derby, beat them something like 4-1. And you could see straight away it was unlike anything I've ever seen in terms of, I won't say any club, in terms of a transition from one manager to another, because there's probably someone somewhere that's made more of an impact quicker, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen. The speed that we improved at, it was just unbelievable. Like, as I say, game 1, we should have got promoted that first season. There's a lot you could talk about as to why we didn't. So the whole Dan James transfer fiasco in January, where we essentially signed him and the owner pulled the plug. I think that was the first domino. If we had Dan James, we would have won the league.
Wait, you rate Dan James?
Dan, I kind of still do, not to the same level, but you got to think Dan James in the Championship first of all. And then you think he's stagnated under Ollie. You would back with what Bielsa's done to improve other players in this squad. You back him to improve Dan James. and then B, he'd be playing on the left-hand side as well. And if you think all of Dan James's, well, the majority of Dan James's goals, so when he was on fire at the start of last season, it was when he was getting minutes off the left. And then now he's kind of pushed out to the right, and rightfully so, because, you know, he's not as good as Rashford, Martial, etc. But he is a better footballer on the left wing, and that's where we would have had him. At the Championship level, he probably would have got us up. Then you can say the mentality, we did kind of, there's obviously a lot of pressure on Leeds as kind of a huge club in the Championship. And then arguably, I would say this is probably less important and more of a media narrative, but the burnout fitness-wise first season, to an extent, it did play its role. Yeah.
So I want to gather your thoughts on who would you say are the players that have improved most under Bielsa. So from when you first came into where you are now, who are the players you said that have improved the most?
I'll give you a few. So Calvin Phillips is probably one of the better ones to kind of go through. When Bielsa came in, he was a box-to-box to / attacking midfielder that was very average at Championship level. Like there was a few rumours we were going to sell him. And then in pre-season, that first Bielsa pre-season as well, the players were playing in every position under the sun. But Calvin Phillips was put at centre-back. And then I guess the kind of test is kind of defensive awareness and abilities. And then from that point on, he was put as the base of the midfield. And he's a completely different player in every aspect of his game than the one that he was when Bielsa took over. As I say, average box-to-box midfielder in the Championship. He didn't really score much. He didn't create anything. Now, he's creative. His decision-making generally is incredible. His numbers defensively are really, really good. Yeah, and I'd say as well, in terms of England, I think he's completely deserving of being in the squad at least. I'm not going to say he should start, but he is more or less nailed on to be in the squad for the Euros this summer. Another couple, I'll give two more kind of. Stuart Dallas is another one. The average Championship winger, we bought him for about 500k from Brentford. And now he can play any position on the pitch. He's one of our best players. And then probably this season specifically, Patrick Bamford's improvement is out of nowhere, completely out of the blue. But we love him now. He's a brilliant striker. He still probably misses more chances than he should, but he's a Prem level striker. And going into this season, there was you wouldn't find many Leeds fans that would have said Patrick Bamford would score 8 goals in the Prem, let alone I think he's on something like 17. So, yeah.
You know what? I just had a question that came into my mind. Because you're a fan outside the top 6, I want you to say who you would say are the top 5 best youngsters in the league. So from an outside the top 6 perspective.
Oh, it's a tough question, to be fair. What kind of age are we talking, and how established? Because like even in the Leeds youth teams, I could go through. There's quite a few. But yeah, what age would?
So in the Premier League, let's say, what's a good age? Would you guys say 18 to 21?
21.
Under 21, yeah.
I think our goalkeeper Ilan Melier is incredible. I don't know how much you've seen of him this season, all of you, but the saves he pulls out of nowhere genuinely are immense. And when you look across Europe, how many goalkeepers actually start at this age? You go through. There's like Alban Lafont, there's Donnarumma. That's about it. His distribution does need a bit of work, but when you think of the system we play, playing out from the back, it's really tough for any goalkeeper, let alone someone young, inexperienced like Ilan. But he saved us numerous points this season.
But would you say he's top 5 under 21 players in the Premier League? Would you say?
Yeah. I off the top of my head now, like there may be a few players that I'm kind of not thinking of, but yeah.
Okay. Who are the other 4 then?
I don't know if I'll be able to give you off the top of my head in England specifically. I really like Declan Rice. I know he's kind of over 21. I think he's 22, but
Yeah, he's 22.
yeah, I'm counting him for the sake of it. Declan Rice, a brilliant player. I think he's more well-rounded than a lot of people kind of think as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd chuck him in.
I would get more credit if he was an attacker.
Yeah, exactly. Wesley Fofana as well is a very good centre back under 21. I think the top three are then maybe not top three, but they're the three that come into my head now.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's a hard question to think of off the top of your heads, but fair enough. Just the last topic before we round up. Let's look at the Spanish league. Atletico won 1-0. Oblak made a big penalty save. Are they still favourites, or do you still see them bottling it? Denzel.
I'd say they're still favourites. I just don't really trust Barcelona to win the league. I know that they've picked up form and they're a lot closer than they were a while ago. But I would back on Atletico.
Dan?
Barca are only 4 points behind, so they're not that far. But I think the fact that Atletico are out of the Champions League, I think they could hold on to that title.
All right.
I don't know. I think Barcelona have a chance of actually winning it. I think they still face each other, I think, towards the end of the season. So that'll be quite good. If the gap is closed, that would be a proper big game. Atletico, I just feel like their wins and it's just too slim, 1-0, 1-1 results like that. So I feel if they're more likely to have things not going their way and just drawing games, dropping points here and there. Barcelona's wins are usually more dominant and stuff like that. So I think I may just be leaning towards Barcelona, with the type of quality they have right now going forward. So I'll say Barcelona.
What about you, sir?
I've watched Barcelona quite a lot the last couple of weeks. They're the best team in the league since the beginning of December. They picked up the most points. And Atletico, as already said, this is notorious. They won't win by 2, 3, 4-0 every week. They're always going to be winning by one or two goals. Barca have players coming back. Ansu Fati's going to be coming back soon. Real have a huge injury list, but I think they will maybe finish third. But Atletico Madrid can now focus on the league itself because they're out of UCL. So I think this is going to go right down to the last 2 weeks. So and bearing in mind that El Clasico is in a couple of weeks' time, and Barca play Atletico Madrid as well towards the end of the season. So those wins against each other could propel them maybe 2 or 3 points clear. But I think Atletico will just scrape it.
And then Max, what's your thoughts on it?
I think when if you remember a couple of weeks ago when it was Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, like towards the end of the game, when it was still 1-0 Atletico, me and my housemate were talking, and I said, if they concede now, I think they'll bottle the league. I think they have a kind of inferiority complex in comparison to Real Madrid and Barcelona. I'm not quite sure they have the mentality to get them across the line. Like, they just don't have the experience there. Like, I think it is Koke is the only one left in the squad from the last one. They have a really tough fixture list as well. I think they still have to. Someone said they still play Barcelona. I think they've still got to go to Real Sociedad, Real Betis. I think Sevilla maybe. I can't remember exactly, but they do have a really tough end to the season. So I'd lean slightly towards Barcelona at the moment.
Okay, that's all the topics. Let's go on to our stars and our wildcards of the week. You guys can say who you want, who's the best player of the week and who's the worst player of the week. Who's everybody's suggestions?
Dest.
Kelechi.
My boy Dest. Yeah, Kelechi's another one.
I'm going to probably go for Big Ben's. I think he scored 2 and I think assisted 1. And yeah, overall, just such a complete striker. I've always been a huge fan of Benzema. So yeah, here's my star of the week.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, Lewandowski scored the hat trick in it, and so
yeah, that's right.
Can we talk about that howler of a performance from Stuttgart?
Yeah, well, what do you want to say?
Absolute howler! Like they played against 10 men from the minute 10 onwards, and they scored all their goals from that minute onwards. And honestly speaking, you could probably say that Bayern were playing with 11 men throughout the whole game. Like, but kudos to Lewandowski. He keeps doing his thing. All round striker.
No, as much as I try to take Bundesliga seriously, I feel like the teams they're just always
a joke.
They just keep giving me reasons not to. I always try and take them seriously sometimes, but the defending at times is just it's just too. They all play with a high line. There's really no pattern. There's no, like, compared to the quality of football in the Premier League or even a league like La Liga as well. I feel the teams are way more structured in terms of defending and stuff like that. Bundesliga is just, overall, I just don't rate it that highly.
But couldn't that be down to just their business model of, we have a lot of young attacking players, let's put them in a position where they can freely express themselves and just play football in order so that we can sell them for the most amount of money. Because let's be honest, they can't compete with the Premier League and the Liga financially. So really the way they're going to generate their money is through buying these guys young and selling them for a massive profit, So obviously it doesn't take away from anything, but I feel that it's probably a big reason for that.
I feel like you could still have an element of structure to your defenses, though. Like, I was going to suggest, like, my kind of players would be Andre Silva at Frankfurt. And he got 2 goals and an assist in like a 5-1, 5-2 win or something like that. And I really love Andre Silva. He's a brilliant player, but I think he scored something like 22 or 24 goals this season now. It's like, I think he's scored more than Haaland. And to let Andre, if your league is letting Andre Silva score, like, you probably finish around 30 goals. You've got to look at the defending, because it is league wide. Like, I'm not a big fan of using the word farmers league and things, but yeah, the Bundesliga is the only one where I genuinely look at the quality of some players. I take a level down, specifically forward players, because of the level of defenses they're playing against. Other than Leipzig, all the defense, every single one in that division is a mess. Every single one.
I was reading somewhere. I'm not sure about the credibility that Dortmund wanted to possibly get Origi, as a signing, and I was just thinking that Origi in Bundesliga, is just going to be so shocking when he goes there and starts getting 20 plus goals a season. I feel that's when everybody will probably be more enlightened that this league is not really really up there in terms of quality.
Because sometimes I've watched Leverkusen a lot this season, and defensively at times them man are shocking.
If you think about it, the highest goal scorer in the league, in our league right now, is Salah, and he has 17. And we're the only league, I think, in the top 5 European leagues that haven't had anyone hit 20 goals yet. So that just really shows you that it's just quite something that
Do you think that we have to take their players with a pinch of salt? Because, for example, Batshuayi went out there 2 seasons ago and got 8 goals in 10 games, and in the Premier League he can't even get 1. So do you think we kind of have to look at their players with a I don't want to say a Bundesliga tax, because that's what's commonly thrown around.
Say that.
But do we have to take context with their stats? And
yeah, definitely. I mean, Lewandowski is on shout to have 40 plus goals this season. I mean, that's that. And in Bundesliga they also play less games than the Premier League. So can you just imagine the context of someone getting 40 goals in our league in a Premier League season? I mean, we've had the best of the best players. We've had Ronaldo, we've had Henry, and these guys couldn't even hit higher than 31, 32. So it's just quite shocking if you think about it in terms of context.
I'm not gonna use it against Lewandowski though, because
I feel like he may just be on that level where you wouldn't use that to degrade his quality, because he's still a top striker. But the tax does come into effect for probably a lot of players in that league. Yeah, only just a few who are just above it. That are actually quality.
Yeah, I think we've just like, especially with scouting players from other leagues, you just got to watch them, in my opinion, or have a rough idea of what to expect from them. I feel like sometimes we're kind of just not given the wrong image of them, but sometimes like where they give us a player comparison, he's the next this, he's the next that. We've never watched him, and then we realize you're not really like that. You get what I'm saying? So it's one of them ones. But I do understand what people say about the Bundesliga in terms of it defensively. Like it is quite suspect, but it's still a good league in my opinion. Very entertaining to watch. Before we end off, Max, did you have your 5 list of young players that we should look out for?
Yeah, I'll try and give you a few from like each nation. Like I've been thinking. So England wise, I'll give you Ilan and Gelhardt from Leeds, and then in the lower leagues in League One, Keane Lewis Potter from Hull and Luke Jeffcott of Plymouth. Lewis Potter's a good like winger. Jeffcott's a good striker. Kind of Spain. You look at Real Sociedad, the talent they have in their squad. Like Mikel Merino isn't talked about anywhere near enough. Young players like Anthony Barrenechea. Obviously, Oyarzabal is due a move. I'm not sure where he'd go. And Alex Isaac, since he's got a full-on run of games since Willian Jose went to Wolves, he's been brilliant. In terms of the Bundesliga, we're talking about Stuttgart. Sasha Kalajic, I think is how you say his name, allow the pronunciation. He isn't talked about enough. He's a brilliant striker. Like he's one of them that every single time I see Stuttgart play, he just seems to have scored. And you talk about Wamangituka and Gonzalez from that team. I just don't mean to mention up Daichi Kamada and Andre Silva at Frankfurt as well. And kind of I just leave it with France as well. Roman, Favre 5 from Brest and Roman Perraud as well, the left back and attacking midfielders. Both brilliant players. And then all the Lyon midfielders as well. Max Caqueret, Bruno.
I know you like them a lot. I remember even saying
all of them. They're class, yeah. And I'm gonna throw in just as the last. Actually, I did allow Schweiz from Saint Etienne, and a couple really left field ones out in Brazil. Just because I watched Red Bull Bragantino quite a bit towards the end of the season. Claudinho and Arta from them are both really good talents. Arta's a young right winger, cuts inside his left foot a lot. And Claudinho is like an attacking midfielder. I think he was top scorer in the whole division and they were lower mid-table. He's going to get a big move. He's an immense player. I mean, I could talk all day, do you know what I mean? So I'll leave it there. But just a few names I've thrown out there.
Yeah. Now, Max is certified when it comes to young talents. This guy from last year was telling me Haaland's world class. Nah, I gotta respect him. When he tells you a player that's good, you gotta respect him. Because another guy he told me about was Cherky, keeping an eye on him as well. So, nah, Max is certified with that. But yeah, man, that's it for this week, man. I really enjoyed this week, man. But I hope you, man, enjoyed it too. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hey, we appreciate you, Max, coming on, man. It was really enjoyable. Hope to have you again soon sometime. But yeah, people, you know what to do. Share with your people. And let's continue to grow. But we'll catch you again next week.